guys miss me. I want to thank Dr. Rambaran and wonderful Carol Drayton, counselor for people who were wronged one way or the other. We'll talk more about. She was here last week and she's here again this week. I want to thank them for holding the fort for me last week, and back here, and we're going to have a good day today because we're going to talk about date rape. It's very, very rampant in our society, and I can tell you that I've interviewed at least 6 individuals who've had the experience of being drugged one way or the other and then wake up until 12 hours after. A lot of legal challenges there and things like that, but we'll come back and I'll talk to you, and I want to say good morning. It's Saturday morning, every Saturday, 9 to 9:30, and it's 9:03 right now, actually, so 9 to 9:30 every Saturday we come on, talk about living with AIDS, living with illnesses, living in this stressful world, and all type of aspects of life we deal with today, and more so modification of lifestyle where you can prolong your life. And that's what we're about. We're here for a short period of time, and we want to make sure that while you're on the train, you enjoy the ride. It's Dr. Sparman, www.thesparmanclinic.com, or you can meet me, email me, dr.sparman@thesparmanclinic.com. As I said, we're going to be talking about date rape today, and we have Carol Drayton, a specialist in counseling, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. You know, let's talk about it. I want to just give you a recap of what happened last week. We talk about the drugs that are used. And some people say, well, Doc, you put the drug in my tea or you put a drug in my drink. I'll taste it. No, that's why these drugs are able to get it through. A lot of them are not approved medically, so you get them on the street. You have the street pharmacists making them, and sometimes what they do, they mix them with all kind of stuff, and you wouldn't want to know what they put in there. And sometimes you're not even getting the real drug. Retinol is one of the common ones. It's colorless, and it can just be placed in. You turn your way, you leave your drink there, you're talking to your friends. And remember, most times you're at a club or a party, you're having a drink, you want to relax. Alcohol brings the system down, cools it down, muscles relax and so forth. So you can talk and be free. That's why you went out. You want to have a pastime, actually. So your inhibitions are sometimes interrupted, and even for the people who do not drink, you're there, you're distracted because a lot of activity is going on around you. And so Retinol is one of these drugs. You can just put it in your drink and it dissolves, and you wouldn't taste it. Some of them, most is a white tablet, but some of them, they're all a brand called benzodiazepines, and sometimes people, if they can't find it, they use Xanax, which is commonly prescribed drug, prazolam, by the doctor for people who want to sleep, and clonazepam, some other ones they use, but the most common culprit is the Retinol. So, and that drug, we don't know how much they can put in there, but you wouldn't even know you taste that. Remember, at night it's dark. The club, it's not the light, visibility is not that. It's kind of poor. So what happens is that you would, 1.5 hours or so after, then you start to have all these symptoms, and it could be just, you must have become very, very, very weak. And what happens is that you assume by other people that you're drunk. And what happens that whoever would have done it to you, a lot of times the bartenders are involved. Yes, they work along with someone else, so the other person is looking at you, and as soon as you start to see some signs that you're going down, they'll hold you, and everybody would think, oh, they're friends, and take you out, and then the things happen. You wake up next morning, somebody else's home, somebody else's car, all those things. Most times you wake up, you're alone, and it's confusing, it's traumatic. Oh, it's a terrible experience, and it happens a lot here. And as I said, I want to open the phone lines for you guys. I know it's hard, but put a handkerchief over your phone and talk and change your voice up. You can do that and call us. Somebody want to hear about your experience. I'm going to tell you about one that a young lady came to me and told me about it. No names would be mentioned here, but your experience when you go out there, it can happen to anyone. And I'll tell you some things, some ways you can avoid this stuff from happening. But remember, these drugs can kill you. These guys who are using them would not know the exact doses actually to use. And a lot of times, even if it's one or there's something called idiosyncrasies, where some people may not, the respiratory drive would not be suppressed significantly with some. And sometimes, what do you do if you're a perpetrator of one of these type of crimes and the person dies in your home? What do you do? So that is always consequence. Then there's another one called GHB, gamma hydroxy butyric acid. That's another one that is used for sleep disorders and so forth. Prescribed for that, but it could be used, as I said, tasteless, and sometimes you would see a little color, but as I said, if it's at night, you will notice it. And then we have the last one we want to talk about. Alcohol is one, but that's a legal drug, so we won't talk about that one. Ketamine. Ketamine is used also, and is prescribed actually for people, for manufactured as an anesthetic for animals and for people too. And those are the three major culprits used. And as I said, they can cause seizures, coma, death, and all these things. And as I said, even if you were so, what alcohol does, it potentiates the activity of these drugs. So, can happen to male and females. And that is why when you go to the bathroom, when you go to the club and you offer the drink, what do? You gotta look and see who is pouring the drink and follow with your eyes and so forth. We will talk more about that. We will get Carol involved in this whole thing. I want you to call 434-1771, 434-1791, and 434-1790. Call us and share your experience. When I come right back, I'm gonna actually, as I said, you can die from this stuff, so be careful. What do? You have a stiff in your hand. We'll be right back. We're talking about, for you guys who tune in very late, date rape, part 2 from last week. We had Dr. Rembrandt and Carol Drayton, who's heads the counseling, Agape Counseling Services for people who were traumatized in all areas. Tell us a little bit what you do, Carol. Good morning.
Good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure to be back with you again this morning. My counseling is geared to those people who have various conflicts, either in their marriage or in their personal lives. We look at a lot of trauma. We look at also children who have difficulties with their behaviors in schools and at home.
Okay.
So we deal with a variety of problems in the society. Some also might be bereavement problems, and some might be health issues, whether it's cancer or diabetes.
Oh, tell me about this. You've had a great percentage of your practice. People coming in and talking to you would have had this experience. And even before you answer that question, I met a lady once and she told me, Doc, and they come for counseling to the doctor. So they say, well, Doc, I went to this place, this club, and it was 12:30 or so was drinking, and the next thing I know, I didn't even know I was feeling drowsy. Next thing I know I felt it, but I felt I was like getting intoxicated, but I only had one drink. And I woke up at 12 o'clock in a guy's apartment. I asked him, what am I doing here? And he says, you just got drunk and I just had to take you home. So she's got no proof that anything happened. What I say to her, I said to you, no, when this thing happened, you right away go straight to the hospital. So they can take a urine sample from you, and also they can examine you on all these things. And the area you are, if it's in your home or in your car or wherever you wake up, you just don't touch anything. Leave it so that the police can come and do their dusting and so forth. But most times somebody would knock you out for 12 hours. They have something in mind. Something would have been done to you. Nobody does that for the fun of it. But the thing is, the perpetrator, it's great. In other words, they're criminals. Because really, they can kill you. They're murderers, actually. So how many of those type of people you have in your practice?
I would have seen a couple of women who would have experienced this sort of rape, and many times they're ashamed, they're embarrassed, and as you just said, they should go to the police, but after they're up, they're not aware of what would have happened. They're not sure what to tell the police. They just know that they would have been abused. But then the gentleman, because the lady is not aware of what would have happened, he would say, but you asked for it and it was just sex. And she's so confused, she's not aware, is it sex or is it rape? But she knows for sure she didn't consent to anything. And she feels dirty, she feels defiled, she's confused, and she just wants to have a bath to feel clean. So the furthest thought from her mind at that present point in time when she awakes is, let me have a bath and freshen up, not police. The perpetrator make sure, as long as he's still around, that he does not even bring police to her mind, and he's kind and he's loving and he's kind, and sometimes he even asks her, can't you remember how good it was?
Oh, is that so? I know someone told me that when they were out, they didn't feel like nothing happened, but someone keeps saying to them that, yes, this thing did occur. But I'm saying, so it means that you could be walking down the street and see the same individual, and you got to face this stuff in this small little country we live in, It's traumatic. A lot of scar tissue, wouldn't you say?
Yes, because it leaves lasting scars for the individual. It makes them wonder if they're going out of their mind, what's happening. They're not sure. Sometimes it comes back in dreams and nightmares. And although the person would have been unconscious, the subconscious is a very powerful part of the brain, and it brings back things while you're sleeping. And you might start having dreams about things, someone raping you. You might start, and you jump up in the night and you say, what's happening? So then they come into counseling. They want to know what's happening to me. I'm having these dreams. I'm having these nightmares of what would have happened.
Will they continue to have lifelong therapy, or this is something you can take a 3-month or a 6-month therapy and then move on with your life? Or is it some mechanism you have to use to block this thing out? How people get over this stuff?
It is very difficult and traumatic for some women. Some women get over it easily because they're able to face it. Some acknowledge that yes, it could have been rape, and they accept that that is what it was. Some find it hard to forgive the individual. Some do. Some might go back to the individual and face the individual. So various things happen. But then the lady, she decides to move on with her life. Some move on easily, some don't. It comes back up in relationships. Sometimes they don't trust men anymore. Sometimes they end up hating men. Sometimes they do different things to act out revengeful towards men who might not have been the perpetrators.
So then it's safe to say that people who are raped, really legitimately raped, we're not talking about the date rape now, really know this thing happened, they are more likely to go forward to the authorities.
Yes.
But the people who would have had this date rape stuff, sometimes they feel like they blame themselves. Am I right?
Yes, they do.
They do, yes. It means that it's underreported.
It is not reported the majority of the time because there's no proof, because she has no memory of it. She was drugged.
Scar tissue, guys. Scar tissue, and it can last. I want to tell you, whoever think of doing these things, please remember, as I said, from a medical point of view, they can die. Yes, they can die. You can have somebody that is not breathing in your home or wherever it is. What do you do? Is it worth the risk? When you do things, you always think about the consequences. 434-1771, 434-1790, 434-1791. What's in the mind of the perpetrator, the rapist? Yes. That's the name. A lot of the people who would do things like that. You see, a lot of people are walking around, and studies have shown that people who look at a lot of pornography are predisposed to doing things like these. People who've got some anger problems and aggression problems seem to be more likely to do these things. People who've got problems in their lives, whether at home, and they don't have control, and they need to regress the area of control, and like to really monopolize and power over a weaker person. They like to hear the pleading and the begging. Yeah, so a lot of people who are not doing well in whatever area it is, whether the job is stressing them out and so forth, they regress to these primitive means of trying to be in control, and they get a lot of gratification from that. There's help for you. You find that you are doing things that is antisocial, that really you're high. It's okay to take risk now in life. All of us are taking risks right now. For me to come to the station, I had to take a risk hoping that somebody didn't drink last night and would run off the road and hit me. So it's a risk. But I think that probably of that happening is probably not likely, but it can happen. Low risk. But high risk maneuvers like that can destroy your life forever. Yeah, you want to stay away from that. That's a little bit of mind of the rapist, Carol.
The rapist, as you said rightly, he is trying to achieve power over the woman. And sometimes these men have low self-esteem. They feel very small within themselves. They might not be great accomplishers in the working force. And then just raping a woman, hearing her beg or scream, it gives them that sense of power, that sense of fulfillment. And it is important that these people seek help for themselves and realize that it is not only the woman's life who's being destroyed, but they themselves have no control over their lives. And they themselves, eventually, they're not really happy, especially if they're caught. They live in a constant state of fear and apprehension, wondering, would she recognize me? Sometimes they don't want to do it, but they feel compelled to do it. And they have no control. So many times they have to go for themselves and seek their own help, go back to the source of their problems, whether it's pornography, whether they were treated badly, whether in the early dating years a lady laughed at them when they were young, when they first had sex. She might have laughed at him and he might have held that within himself as a sense of, okay, I'm not a good man, I'm not good at having sex, so therefore the only way I can do this is to rape someone to prove that I have power over the woman.
That's an interesting point. Never thought of that one. Yes, very, very valid. Very, very valid. But I tell you, there are few bad men in this world. No, mostly good. Just a few bad ones. And yes, there's therapy for the rapist. There's therapy also for the victim. And Carl, you're doing a wonderful work in having these services available, because some people, it's hard to even get over these things by themselves. If you at a club and you're given drinks, please don't leave them and go away to the bathroom or go somewhere else. Keep your eye on your drink, especially when it's colored. Got a little bit of Coke or something in there, and it's not transparent, especially. But even those, the transparent ones, as I said, these drugs are colorless, so it can happen. Keep your eye on your drink. Keep your hands, your drink in your hands. You got to go to the bathroom. Go to the bathroom with your drink. Yes. And then when people offer to buy drink for you, if you don't want to embarrass them, you go up there and you just make sure you look at the hands as the hands is preparing for you. Don't think it only happens to women. Happens to men also, because basically people do things for various reasons. So guys, you have your drinks, okay? You look. We're going to come right back and wrap this thing up. 434-1771, 434-1790, 434-1791, and 1771. People shed tears for many, many years after abuse by such trauma. Because most times when men would do these things, you don't know if it's one guy or two, maybe 20. You don't know. And I tell you something that will surprise you. Most times, if you're aggressive enough to carry out a high-risk maneuver like this, it means that, one, most times you're highly unlikely to use a condom. So if this should happen to someone, please go straight to the cops, to the Queen Elizabeth, actually, A&E department. They have a system in place to do all the testing and so forth to make sure, at least, because you have to have all kind of blood testing to make sure you're not infected and all these things. So, Tears and Rain. That was James Blunt. I'm going to come right now and talk to Carol. Carol, what would you have to say for both rapists and victim? And essentially, what do you want to say to all of our listeners right now? Our closing word to them.
What I would like to say first to the victim is that it is not your fault. And I know that many times you're ashamed to come forward. You're ashamed to let parents know, friends know, husbands know. Sometimes these women are married and they're just out on a Friday night. So I want to tell these women that it is okay to come forward and to deal with your issues, because it can have lasting implications and effects on your life and your relationships. I also want to tell not the victim, but the perpetrator, that man out there, or sometimes it might even be women putting things in drinks for men.
Of course.
And I want to tell those persons who are doing such criminal acts, it is a criminal act, because you're robbing someone of the ability to think freely and clearly. And I want to tell that person it is not a good thing to do, because realistically you would not like to have it happen to you, and you too need help. So you should seek some sort of help, whether it is counseling, psychological counseling, regular counseling. If you're in a church, because some of you just visit the church, you should probably go to a pastor also and speak to him. But you need to seek help also to stop yourself from doing these horrible and heinous acts to various people, whether it's male or female.
Thank you, Carol. Where can you be reached, so that, just in case someone wants to get in touch with you and start their counseling? It could have happened a year ago, but it keeps flashing back on them. Give them a number so they can call you or get in touch with you.
You can reach me at Agape Helps Counseling Services, 228-9052. That number is 228-9052.
Carol, I want to thank you for coming by, and people, we thank you for being here. Actually, taking your time to be here with us, and we love you and we care for you. And thank you so much for listening today. Next Saturday, 9 to 9:30. Don't forget, we're gonna leave right now. Goodbye, my lover, James Blunt.